he's a legacy, and they did show him a lot of love. But I'm just thinking, I know his dad dies, lives and dies by the Husker games and football. But if you're a dad, you want your kid to go to the place that's probably going to put you in the best position to make your goals happen. It would be hard for me, let's just say, just horribly, if UCLA, for instance, had the better coach. And I think for a number of years, there were situations where you had some Trojan legacy kids that did not go. Matter of fact, there's one really famous one, Ryan Neese, who was Ronnie Lott's son, went to UCLA. If you don't have your ducks in a row, as much as you love your school, you want what's best for your kid, and any dad wants that. And I'm sure he would love him for his son to go there. But one thing I think that Rule will do a great job. I was a tell Cole, I wasn't talking smack. I mean, I really think that Rule's would do well at Nebraska, but he's going to need to show what he can do. And God, I forgot. I think Satterfield, right? But not the Satterfield. The other Satterfield is the OC there. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, I'm sure he could be great, but would you want to have your kid going and playing in an offense that looked really good at a different level, and it absolutely could be great, but do you want to roll the dice on that, or do you want to go with the proven commodity? And whatever the NIL situation might be, let's say the Huskers throw, I don't know, $3 million at them. The differences in those paychecks and that first round signing bonus and going first overall, top 5 or whatever it will be, is going to make any NIL deal look minuscule and a waste of time. So that's why I think really, if you're a quarterback, it's going to be hard to say no to Lincoln Riley and his offense, especially at USC. You're going to have receivers and running backs, and now they're pulling in the linemen. And they got a pretty good line on 2 really good modern day guys, Baker and I can't remember, but they're going to be 4 and 5-star offensive linemen. So that's the last piece of the puzzle that's coming in soon. And I think early on he might have been scared away because Riley's really going after DJ Lagway out of Florida, who's a stud. He's kind of more in the mode of a Williams, but maybe not the same strong arm. But he's that athletic running quarterback, and I'm not sure if that might have turned Raiola off early in the process because he was going out pretty hard for him. So I don't know. I mean, Cole, anything could happen. I'm not saying he might end up at Notre Dame. I mean, at Nebraska, but I just don't see it happening. And it's not a knock on Notre Dame. Sorry, I keep doing that. Not on Nebraska or Rule at all. It's not. That's not a knock on the. I think they'll do well, but I just don't think
you're used to knocking Notre Dame. That slips out.
Well, I want to knock Notre Dame. I'll knock Notre Dame later if we can hang around. Where's Will? Yeah, but I can do that all day.
If I'm in his position, and I'm 35 years older and all of that, so it's difficult for me to relate. But if I'm in his position, I take advantage of the recruiting trips and the entire process, no question. But I don't lead anyone on. I'm just have never been that kind of individual that in any way I would lead anyone on in any such way or lead a fan base on, unless they really got on my nerves and I was like, okay, I'm gonna stick it to these people. I could see myself doing that at 17 years old. But for him to go to those lengths to bring in all that family for the spring game, that's the one that struck me. Showing up at the basketball games, he's going to do that all over the place, those sorts of visits. But the spring game seems to be a bit of a statement.
It is, but aren't they a Nebraska family to begin with?
Yeah, they're a Nebraska family. And yes, his dad coaches there, so they can already have a family type event there. Or his uncle, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yes. Dad was a legend. The uncle's a coach.
Yes.
He's a recruit. I mean, I could see it, but I don't know.
Yeah. And this is why I don't guess these things. And this is why I just kind of size up. This is how I see it. These are the factors involved, but trying to guess what somebody's thinking and whether some kids are drawn to that and others are repelled by the whole legacy and pressure and trying to live up to that. They want to do their own thing and go somewhere else. So there's usually not a neutrality to that. That's not a factor. There's usually a draw toward it or there's a repellent factor. one or the
Yeah.
other.
And I do like Cole's confidence. Yes, Baker is going to come on a visit, but they get 5 of those. Man. This guy's in our backyard. Modern day, I'm not sure if you know this, is pretty much a USC feeder school. Again, maybe he is going, but if I had to guess, the way things are going and trending, Carter and Baker have a really good, much better chance of being at USC than going to Nebraska. So I don't want you to think that I'm saying there's no way he's going to Nebraska, because I'm stopping way shy of that. But there's a lot of guys that know a heck of a lot more about recruiting than me, and they're not saying it's a guaranteed lock, but they're all saying, wow, it's really trending that direction. You know, he and Riley, they got together they spent the entire time together. You know, he was there for a couple of days, and apparently he was there with them the entire time, talking football, talking plays, talking everything. He sat down and had some time with Caleb Williams. I'm sure Caleb Williams is in his ear talking to him about the opportunities and what it's like to play quarterback under Lincoln Riley. So best of luck to Nebraska. And then really quickly before I go, Shane, don't get lulled into that 3-star stuff, because we got a lot of that thrown here at USC over the years, saying, well, hey, we're really turning these 3-stars into, you know, this and that, and they're going to the NFL. You know, you're going to have that, right? You know, Voorhees was a 3-star. He was a great guard for USC. Came out of the 3-star. It was a late bloomer. But you can't build a team that's going to be able to compete with the SEC full of 3-star diamonds in a rough. The odds are so small against having the numbers in order to do that. It's just literally impossible.
Yes. You would have to have all the best 3-stars in the entire conference and maybe beyond on your team to have
keep it close.
Yes. It's just, and maybe not even, like you'd have to have the best 3-star quarterback in the country, the best 3-star running back yeah.
So
yes,
just be careful falling into that trap, because I was living there for a while. Believe me, when we had that guy, I forgot his name, he used to coach USC. It was like we weren't getting these recruits, and we were. You know, there were guys that were going to the NFL that were 3-stars and they were playing well, but having a handful of those guys and then having a defense like we had, it shows. It shows when you're not getting 4 and 5 stars when you play teams that have 4 and 5-star guys. So
if you look at Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, fill in the blank, the very best recruiting teams in the nation, and let's say they bring in 25 players, this is almost within a couple going to be your breakdown. 5 5-stars, like 5 3-stars, and about, what's that, 15 4-stars. And that's roughly going to be your breakdown.
And you're not going to be able to compete against a team like that. That's what I'm saying. That's how Ohio State can go toe to toe, and no pun intended, and almost win the game. Whereas another team's just going to get hammered by Georgia. So good luck with that. If you unless you have, like you said, the perfect scenario where you have the best of the best 3-stars and you got the greatest developers of all time. Otherwise, it's going to be tough sledding. And I'm once again, I sound like I'm negative, but I think what they're doing at Michigan clearly is great. But I think if they want to take that next step, they're going to need to close on these 4 and 5-stars apparently that are visiting.
Folks, Tim and Rick and I have an amazing show on USC football. It airs every Sunday at 8 o'clock Eastern time. 5 Pacific is the time that they've settled on at this point. It's called Trojan Conquest Live. They've done it for 2 weeks. They got a 3rd edition coming up this Sunday, so you want to check that out. Have we settled on what we're going to talk about this week?
So we covered the first week. We covered the defense, the front 7. Last week we covered quarterback and running back. This week we did offensive line. So all that's left is the glory boys right on the outside, the defensive secondary and the wide receivers with the tight end. We're throwing tight end. We didn't know, we just put them with the receivers. So that's where we're going to hit this week. And then after that, you guys, we're going to start picking off some Big Ten teams. We want to start doing some rundowns because of the Pac-12 and Big Ten history in the past. There are a lot of rivalries that we've had over the years. Like I said, we just got our butts kicked in the Holiday Bowl not too long ago. It was 2019. Yeah, the Holiday Bowl. Not a nice memory at all. Watching the running back maybe it was a fullback, just take the ball and carry USC defenders from about the 15-yard line down to the 2-yard line with a big rugby scrum. So there's a lot of great history between USC and the Big Ten. We want to cover some of that. We know we got 1 foot in the Pac-12 and 1 foot in the Big Ten pretty much. So we want to get USC fans ready for that. We'd love to invite any Big Ten fans who want to come in and learn a little about USC before we come and invade. Don't worry about UCLA. They suck. You don't have to know anything about those guys. You'll be okay. There's no need unless you're playing them in basketball.
I will take up the mantle for UCLA and I will fill you in on UCLA as much as possible, everyone. I have already posted the videos looking at USC history, recent history against the Big Ten, and UCLA history against the Big Ten. And of course, Tim doesn't mind, despite 2 consecutive losses. I don't think he minds looking at the entire recent history, let's say post 2000 of USC against the Big Ten, because it's been awfully one-sided thanks to one Pete Carroll.
Yeah. I think he was undefeated against the Big Ten.
Now, Helton came in, lost to Wisconsin, then lost these other 2 games to Ohio State and Iowa. They did beat Nebraska in a bowl game.
That was the game that they lost. Starting with that Wisconsin game was what everyone should have points back to, the fact that the problems with Helton is the fact he literally did not use all of the bowl practices, and like someone's going like, because there's already rumors about him being a soft coach and giving kids giving them ice cream and all this stuff weird. I think some of the fans were a little bit over the top because of the losses, but all the fans, we said, you did what? You didn't use all of your practices. Why would you not use all your practice? And then to whatever reason, and then to go in and lose, that was pretty tough to watch. So, yeah, that guy. I don't want to say his name, but yes, join us if you guys want to come check us out. It'll probably be in 2 weeks, but if you want to hear about our secondary and our defensive backs, feel free to join us next week.
One other thing real quick, Tim, if you've got a second, I'm just curious, and not to put you on the spot, but I believe USC went to spring practice on March 4th. So they're coming up on 3 weeks. Have we gotten any type of reports or any kind of indication to any kind of news or anything of significance coming out of the last 3 weeks?
They actually had spring break last week, so they had 1 weekend this off. They're starting up. They're not practicing today. They're actually starting back up again on Tuesday.
Okay.
And the spring game's on the 15th at I think it's 12 o'clock Pacific. So I mean 9 a.m. Yeah, I think it is. I think it's 12 o'clock Pacific time.
Wait a minute. So it's going to be at 3 in the afternoon.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Keep going backwards the other way. Yeah. So I don't know. There's rumors it's going to be on the Pac-12 network, which means there'll probably be like 8 people be able to watch it. But if you do get, I was hoping to get RG3 again. I mean, that was the first time I was really exposed to RG3 doing a lot of like in-depth analysis, and he blew me away. I mean, I've been a big fan of his ever since then.
Yeah,
so it's cool. They're both on the field. They're talking. The game itself was kind of flat, without flash, not too physical. But it'll be interesting to see if they actually. I'm going to be at the game, obviously, but it'll be interesting if it'll be on national television again, or that was just maybe a one-off because Riley, it was Riley's first year.